Ignorance is bliss, or is it? Hello, and welcome to Clea's World. I am Clea Annecchiarico, and today I'd like to speak more about this concept that is quite pervasive in the culture, that ignorance is bliss, or that we should be able to blame other people for our ignorance or the consequences of our ignorance. But before we move forward into the content of this video, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And please do like and comment on this video, because I really love the interaction and to hear your thoughts and feedback on any of my videos. Really, I'm very interested in hearing if stuff resonates with you or not, or if you've had any personal experience in what I speak of. All right, so let's move forward. I want to speak about this concept of ignorance being considered bliss by many, many of us, if not all of us, to some extent. Because there was even a movie made about this. So this is how pervasive and how powerful and how tempting this concept is. And the movie I'm referring to, if you watched my previous video about this, is The Matrix. The idea that you can choose ignorance and it's perfectly fine by taking the blue pill in the sense of the Matrix, as far as the Matrix movie goes. In fact, the actor that takes it in the movie says ignorance is bliss, and he gets rewarded with these beautiful sights of, this beautiful world that, that supposedly he earned by taking this pill, as opposed to the other guy, Neo, who takes the red pill instead, and he's welcomed by this very startling reality, which is just awful, that we're connected to machines and whatever it is. And if you watch the video, you'll see that I think this was all set up to actually take down light workers, because light workers were supposed to think that the moment you awaken, you're going to find something that's very unpleasant. That is not the truth at all. Now, are there unpleasant things that we have not been wanting to see? Yes, but that has nothing to do with the reality behind this reality that we're sold on television and in commercials. So let's go back to the idea of this concept that it's okay to be ignorant. Here's the thing. We come here to, of course, have fun on a 3D planet. There aren't that many left, so we chose to be here at this time, also because it's a historically important time to be here. But the point of 3D is also that we want to experience things. So that means that every choice we make has consequences. So while we are free to make whatever choice we choose, we have free will, we are not free from the consequences of what we choose, of our free will. This is something that is going to become very, very relevant, especially this year, because what's happening? We can see the writing on the wall. I've already seen it in real life. I've seen videos of people who have done something very, very foolish with their bodies, accuse the government, the companies, that pushed them into this, whatever the case was, of the negative consequences of doing this foolish thing. Well, that is absolutely a valid point, because we are misinformed left, right, and center. It's more than misinformation. We are actually brainwashed and objectives of propaganda. Targets of propaganda continuously since we were born. There's also something to be said for the fact that there are so many who haven't made that foolish choice. So this person had the opportunity to think this through. And it's not like these people haven't been told that this is an experiment. It's not like they don't know what happens to guinea pigs in labs. So we know all these things. It's just we don't really want to know. Now, we like to think, so we like to blame other people when we find out that we made a mistake. Understand that sometimes these mistakes, the consequences of these mistakes are so huge that it's hard to cope with it. And so we have to, we get angry. And of course, we lash out and we say, no, but you told me. I get that. However, the moment you choose to do something, you're the one who has chosen it. And this is especially a valid concept that is in jurisprudence, basically in the law. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the fact that under the law or on trial, or whatever it is, there is a saying, ignorantia non excusat. This is from Latin, it means ignorance does not excuse you. In other words, the working idea, the working message behind this is that you either know or you should have known. I know that there will be an extent or some kind of line of defense for these companies that have been pushing the stuff out to say, but you should have known. And in many ways, this is the fine line. They've been working, these pharmaceutical companies, they have been preparing themselves. This is why, for example, they've never had mandates before and they allow exemptions. Now, they might make life hell to get an exemption. They might make it really hard for people to get an exemption, but they're available. Why is that? Because their line of defense has always been, well, you could have gotten an exemption. Just because we pushed you to do this doesn't mean you should have done this. Another point where people think, oh, because people will try to hide them behind, this reasoning. People who realize they made a mistake, and many people will realize their share, because this is all being wrapped up, is that they will say, oh, but everybody else was doing it, so was doing, a good action. It's the virtual signaling we'll all be witnessing. The problem with that is that, and this, I shake my head at this. This is something that in Italy, and I'm sure it happens here as well when you're a child, but in Italy, I still remember my mother telling me, just because Joe jumped off a bridge, are you also going to jump off a bridge? Again, it is not an excuse to do something just because everybody else is doing it. My boyfriend always says to me, he goes, it's not that just because you go with idiots and you become an idiot. If you become an idiot, that was your choice. Now, why is this important? To some extent, as I said, we all do this. For example, one of the things that I received as a message from 25th Dimension is that I didn't want to know. I don't want to know what is going on. Now, all of us in general, as a premise, we don't want to know that this is not real. The entire Earth system, the matrix, etc. We don't want to know it's not real because we came here to play. If you already know it's not real, what's the fun in that? If we already know that we are eternal beings, what's the point of being on a 3D planet, right? The whole point is to be believing this entire setup. So we all do this ignorant choice, or ignorance by choice. We all do this, and there is a purpose. However, there comes a point where we have to start realizing at least that we are ignoring the truth. So for me, again, and this is one of the messages I got personally, is that the reason I keep asking all these questions on the 25th is that I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe that this is going to be happening this year. Whatever is going to be happening is happening, because I don't like the idea of it. And of course, it's very hard for me with my limited 3D mind to wrap my mind around the concept that we are multidimensional and that we cannot die and all these things. Now, consider we have been, again, brainwashed our entire lives. This is a very dense reality. There are a lot of things that work against us. At the same time, I do believe what I'm getting because it's coming from the inside of me. I know this. I have no reason not to believe it. This is not corrupt information. I have triple checked that. And so why am I still questioning? Because again, in some ways, ignorance protects us. We feel like if we don't know, we're better off. But I think here's when we come of age, we become adults, and we have to make the choice of dealing with things head on. We must realize that not knowing things is a decision that still has consequences. So when we don't want to make a decision, that's already a decision. If you don't want to decide about something, you're already deciding not to decide. That's one of your two options. Excuse me. So again, to bring this point home, we come already with the idea that we want to live in a delusion. So I know we're set up to where we can never really see the whole truth, otherwise it will break down the entire game. Now we happen to live through a lifetime when that's the purpose. So this is going to happen. It's fine. But beyond that, how far have we taken this in our lives? How many things do we not want to know about? I remember, it makes me laugh. I remember, I think it was my ex-father-in-law's retirement party or something of the kind. And my ex-mother-in-law made a joke in front of people saying that when they got married, they decided, he said to her, listen, only take care of all the small issues that come up. But if there's a big issue, then ask me. So you're going to be in charge of small issues. She said at this time, and they had been married for like 45 years or whatever at the time, there have never been any big issues in our family. Here's the thing, and that was a joke, and I'm sure he was aware of it, and I'm sure she was moving things out for him, so it's all good, it works for them. But at the end of the day, there was an awareness there. I'm sure he was aware of it. The problem what we do is that we don't even have the awareness of having made this choice when we don't want to know. One thing is knowing what's going on. You've done your research, you have discovered everything about all aspects of a problem, and then you've decided, you know what, I don't need to know all these details. I will trust this one person to tell me what to do, or this one entity, whatever it is. But these people making these very, very silly choices haven't done any of that. They truly are saying, somebody please tell me what to do. Doesn't matter. I mean, they're getting their news from commercials, you know, the safe and effective, those are commercials. There is no such thing as a safe and effective medicine in the history of the world. Nothing is safe and effective 100%. It's just impossible. Even water can kill you if you have too much of it. So just how ridiculous this entire concept is, and we take it as, that's good enough for me, that's good enough information, so let me do what they're telling me to do. And we have ended up in a situation where we have outsourced all our biggest decisions, the ones that affect our lives the most and in the most serious ways, to people outside of us, assuming they know better than us. That's what they're paid to do. But these people are just like us. If we don't think we know enough to figure these things out, why would these people do it? So now we're assuming, or we're making lots of assumptions that the people making these choices have medical degrees. And we know for a fact that people that deal with public health policy, they don't have medical degrees. In fact, they very often, like right now, they discard and censor people with medical degrees saying, hey, this is crazy. This is just one example. This has been going on historically. It's just that we are living through the apex, the climax of this type of behavior, which is just put my head in the sand, worry about my own life, and I'm going to let everybody else decide the things that don't, you know, I cannot decide for myself. Those are the things we're supposed to decide for ourselves. And again, just because you don't know, or you didn't know, and you did something stupid, that's too bad. I mean, that's on you at the end of the day. You're the one bearing the consequences. And everybody's aware of this. Even the people that are pulling this, they expect that if anything happens, they'll say, oh, but I was told this is my job. For example, the policemen who are beating up their fellow citizens, and like, oh, this is my job. Is it? Was their job to beat up innocent people in the street, were completely harmless, and they're holding up signs? Is this their job? They're doing it because they're protecting their pension. They think they're protecting their pension. They are prioritizing other things. Just like the people who have their head in the sand, they're prioritizing other things. I don't want to be disturbed. I don't want to be upset. I don't want to do any research. It's too much work. And I most definitely don't even want to find out what's going on because it's too scary. I get there is a lot of psychological damage and trauma that goes into these decisions. But it's also, again, that's another excuse, because there are many who haven't gone along with that. pressure to comply and to hurt themselves in the process. And they also are then traumatized and programmed since birth. So what gives? What is the difference? I do believe the difference is that those of us who have made the choice to behave like responsible humans, we've realized that it's not the time to avoid things anymore. You know, the three monkeys, right? See no evil, do no evil, speak no evil. Evil is being done, and it's time to take our hands off of our eyes and our ears and to speak about it, and our mouth as well, and to speak about it and denounce it. The time for ignorance is past. What is the Great Awakening after all? Is that we're coming out of our ignorance, of our delusion. Very simply, this is a 3D way of looking at it. So hopefully it grounds a little bit the information that we get from the 25th that I know is very high level. But this is what we're witnessing. We're going through a time when we have to grow up and decide who we are and what we stand for. And this year, brace yourselves. It's going to be very emotionally challenging, but we will be okay. We're wrapping this up. I don't know if you've seen my video where I spoke about the 26th of December. That's when the beginning of the end started. It's only going to last about 6 to 9 months on the outside. We're already seeing things. One thing I haven't let you know yet is that I was in a meditation a few days ago, and I received that within the next few weeks, the shots are going to be pulled because they are so dangerous, and people are going to pretend that all is fine, and the people in power to push them, they're going to pretend all is fine. They didn't know. Oh, but now that we know we did the right thing. Again, ignorance is not going to justify them, because the working model is you should know, or you either know or you should have known. So again, ignorance is not an excuse. All right, well, it was great seeing you again, guys, and please leave me a comment and like this video, share it if you found it useful, and thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.